Welcome. In front of me is a Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick look at this phone. So, let's just get straight into it. One thing that I find very curious is Sony decided to be very courageous, and this time around, unlike some other brands, they don't even include a cable, I believe. If we're gonna see that in a second. But I'm pretty sure I'm correct. So now we go, let's just get rid of that. Our little recycled paper, which is pretty nice. Then we get the phone itself. And courageously, no paper or charger. And just to kind of prove the point, you can see there's nothing here. So yeah, you just get a bunch of paper and phone, and that's it. Good luck charging your device. Now, one thing that I'm gonna say right out front, when holding this device, it's not very comfortable. You can see the kind of design of it when it comes to bezels. If it can catch, like, focus, there we go. So you can see we have a bunch of like angles right here. And they do dig into your hands right from the get-go. It's not the most comfortable phone to hold, and for $1,200 frickin' dollars, you'd expect this to be at least comfortable to hold. For goodness sake, a Fold which weighs basically double of this phone, and yet it's smaller, still feels more comfortable because they decided to actually make the edges more rounded, so it's easier and nicer to hold in your hand. But no, this is just like, yeah, dig into your hand. Good luck. Okay, so well, let's booting up, which I already did. We can go into the display. So quickly going into like all the specs of the display. This is a 6.5-inch display. Honestly, I will say this right up front, it feels bigger than 6.5. And it looks really nice. I do want to point that out. It's a 1644 by 3840 pixels display. It's an OLED display with 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR certification, or HDR BT 2020. Not even sure what that is, but whatever. I think this might be just kind of in the wrong place. Anyway, continuing, it has measly 84.2% screen to body ratio, but it might seem very large percentage, or at least the bezels, as some of the devices nowadays have like 90% screen to body ratio. The reason that is so on this device is because of the chin and, well, the forehead of the device. Sony, all of their devices, even like this one, they include the bezel, at least for instance on the top, so they don't have a either hole punched camera in the display or a notch, which for some people that is pretty nice, and I bet there are some people that prefer this. We also have a little bit of a bigger speaker, or like speaker grill for calls, and also a little bit more, well, longer, I guess. It doesn't take that much space, bottom like microphone. Now, that being said, the bottom bezel could have been significantly smaller, considering this is not taking that much. So yeah. Now, moving over to the back of the device, we have our triple camera setup. So the main sensor is a 48 megapixel f1.9 24mm wide lens, dual pixel PDAF optical image stabilization. Then we got a 12 megapixel f2.3 85mm telephoto lens, which is the bottom one. It looks like there might be variations. No, it's or it basically goes up to f2.8 from 2.3, 125 millimeters telephoto. Again, dual pixel PDAF, continuous optical zoom and optical image stabilization. And then below that, which I assume will be, well, not below but above, I think it's this one. That will be the 12 megapixel ultra wide lens, f2.2, 16 millimeters. And again, PDAF. And all of them, obviously, as you can see, are Zeiss optics, as you would probably come to expect. Okay, yeah, toss that phone. As you can see, oh no, never mind. This one doesn't have Zeiss. Well then, but previous ones did have Zeiss. At least the Xperia 1. I'm pretty sure of that. It looks like the Xperia 10 Mark V does not come with Zeiss optics, as you can possibly see this. Anyway. Continuing on, we have a couple different variants of the storage right here. So at the very base, which I assume this will be, let me just quickly see. Where the heck is that? Yeah, I honestly can be have to look for this on this paper. It's not clearly written where it is. So anyway, at the very base, you can get a 256 gigabytes of storage with 12 gigs of RAM, and then the only other option is 512 gigs of storage with also 12 gigs of RAM. So you only get to increase the storage. Now, additionally, where is it? There we go, at the bottom. You do have expandable storage, so you can go with the 256 gigabytes of built-in storage and expand it further with like a half a terabyte SD card and call it a day. So that's pretty nice, especially for a device like this one, meaning a flagship, because almost all the flagships nowadays tend to skip the SD card just so they can sell you a more expensive version of the device that comes with more storage, and typically it also usually comes with more RAM, which isn't such a bad idea, but at 12 gigs there is very little chance you need more than that. Okay, now continuing into the internals, we have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor powering this device, so that's pretty nice. We have also a 5000 mAh battery, which is also really nice, and that's about it for the internals. So, a couple more things. We have a side-mounted fingerprint sensor that doubles as a power button. We have a shutter button right here. It's I think they're called like two-phase, whatever. So it basically has like two steps to it. So you have one where it starts focusing and then another one where it clicks in to take a photo. So that's pretty nice, especially for a phone that's supposedly designed for capturing photos. And volume rockers also on the same side as every other button. Then at the top we have another forgotten thing, which is a headphone jack, as you can see right over here. And next to that we have a microphone, just antenna right over here. And at the bottom we have our charging port, Type-C, without the cable. Then we got our little tray that you already seen, and then we have some more antennas on the other side. Sorry for that. Anyway, continuing on, one thing that I didn't mention is the build quality of this device. So, the front glass, basically the display, has a Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which that's the first time I'm seeing the second version of it. So, obviously it will be improved on comparing to the previous one, so it should be harder. Anyway, then we get a glass back, Gorilla Glass Victus, though the first one, not the second one, and then we have an aluminum frame. And that's basically the build of this device. Now, one last thing that I want to check is wireless charging. Let's see. So I have a charging pad somewhere like under the desk right here, and I'm trying to see if it's gonna start charging, and it does. What is that though? That was interesting. Anyway, it does charge wirelessly, so we do have a wireless charging built into here, and by the looks of it, it doesn't really say how fast it charges, which is a little bit disappointing considering this is a $1,200 device. But in terms of wired charging, we have a puny 30 watts charging. Jesus, come on, Sony, $1,200 freaking dollars. 30 watts? Are you kidding? But I guess I shouldn't be mad. They're not the only scammy company that decide to give you 30 freaking watts of charging on a device that costs $1,200. After all, we have the king of getting shafted, and that's the Fold 4. 20, what is it? 24 watts charging on an $1,800 device. So yeah, they do win the crown for the most scummy business practices, I guess. Anyway, continuing with this, obviously we have Android here, right here. It's an Android 13. Most likely would upgrade to Android 14 once it rolls out to all the other devices. So you get the newest operating system right here, and that's pretty much all the worth mentioning parts of this device. Now I'm gonna kind of sum up the pros and cons of this device, just at the first glance and looking at a couple different things and taking it all in consideration. So I'm gonna mention that most of my pros and cons will be based around the price tag, and as a typical phone user, I don't want my phone to be like specifically catering to do a specific function. I'm looking at it as another device that I could substitute, for instance, with this, and there would be basically zero difference between those two apart from, well, the specs. So that being said, the pros right here, let's start with that, is the display. It's a very good looking display, nice, big, vibrant. It has really nice colors, which obviously the camera won't be picking up this kind of image quality right here, or the colors that it presents you with, but pretty good. Another thing will be obviously the processor in here. That's the newest one, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. A pretty decent battery size. We do have wireless charging, which is also nice, though we don't know how fast it charges. And the cameras, although I haven't tested them out, should be also a key point of this device, though that was sometimes a hit or miss when it comes down to Sony and their Xperia lineup of devices that are overpriced, where the cameras couldn't outperform mid-range Samsungs, at least not for me. And like I said, judging this as a casual user, I want my phone to be picked up, point, shoot, get a good photo. I'm a noob when it comes into photography, so I would like the phone to have that option to basically do the hard work for me. And Sony Xperia didn't always deliver that, so hopefully they did fix it right here, I would assume. Otherwise, there's really no reason to pick it up. Moving on to the cons now. Would be the build quality right here, or well, the feel of the device, how it's designed, more like. So it doesn't feel very comfortable in hand. I don't like the bezels at the top and bottom. They're a little bit too big, even for this year. Under display fingerprint sensor would be something that I would prefer, but I guess I can't really count that in because some people prefer it on a power button. So I guess I'm gonna count that out. The price tag obviously is egregiously high for a device that supports Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And what else is there to say? I think that's about it, to be honest. It doesn't have very many cons, but it is, in the gist of it, it's under-delivering for the price. So as an example, for $1,200 you can get Samsung S23 Ultra, which arguably I would say would be better, at least in my opinion. It has significantly more versatility, it will do the job better than this, and it's obviously a more reputable phone brand. Sony has a little bit of overpriced devices that deliver the same thing as, for instance, the S23, the default one that costs like $999. This costs $200 more, and it doesn't really differ that much. So that's kind of where I'm getting at. It's too expensive for what it offers for the casual user. There is most likely a market, a very niche market, for people that will get this, but for majority of the people, this probably will not be their next device. So anyway, with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.